I'm very excited about this. This one's been a long time in the making. Someone that I've been really interested and really excited about having on for one of these calls. Um, I mean, if you could build a prototype of the type of people that I want to work with and that I get excited about, this man would be one of the prototypes for sure. We would definitely throw a couple others in there. I could use a few more Natalie's always, right? But coming in just as a blank canvas, just no ego, ready to learn, like give me something to do and let me implement it right off the bat, coming back with what we call action-based questions in UCM. So a lot of people are like, should I do this or should I do that? And it just, their mind takes over. Action-based questions are, hey, I just did what you told me to do. I either got the result I wanted, what's next, or I didn't get the result, how can we change it? Very active, as high integrity of a person as possible. And I think it's really interesting in that this person came in, gave me a list of dream employers, and then before we knew it, we blinked a couple times and he was with his number one employer, number one on the list. And so I think it's really an interesting perspective for a lot of people that are out there settling and just feeling like they have to take whatever job they can get, to hear from someone who was able to land their number one dream job in a short period of time. So all that being said, I am excited. Nathan Burnett, what's happening, my man? How are you?
Not a whole lot, man. I can't beat an introduction like that. That's it. I'll take it, man. Doing amazing. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
things are going good.
Good, man. Good. I know when you say not a lot, it means full tilt too. You always say, oh, not a lot. And then you tell me what you got going on. And I'm like, okay, I understand. I understand. Full tilt. All right, my man. So you came into UCM, and like I said, rather quickly, you were able to land your dream job. So let's start there. What was kind of the approach, and what are you looking back now, reflecting? What do you think were some of the key ingredients of being able to go after the top player and land in that organization?
Yeah, I think it's a lot, like you mentioned, coming in kind of as a blank canvas, new to the industry, didn't have any, much prior experience with, with everything here specifically. And really, I mean, it's the UCM principles to a core. Whenever I came in, made the list of the companies I did want to work with and who I wanted to go after. Started networking with them, and it was over a course of about a month or 2 months of speaking with guys on the team prior to kind of getting that interview and getting in. And so I mean, just the principles of beginning that networking process and putting everything into play was the biggest thing. And then just being patient with it too. Waiting for that opportunity to come along. Was talking with the team before it opened up, and ended up stepping into another role with the company, before I'd landed this one, even having that conversation. So, I mean, that gave me an opportunity to step in, get some dials, get a good understanding of the process, which I think, even got me prepared for that role when it did come along. So even though I was only there for a few weeks, that was a big aspect of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love it, man. I love it. The one thing that I notice a lot of people fall into the trap of is, well, I paid for sales training, I know how to sell, and I got a job. I'm good. Game over, right? That's it. I'm done. Right off into the sunset. So, what have you noticed, or what was a kind of a surprise for you since then, kind of getting into that dream job? Because there's a point of like, I just hit all the goals that I initially set out to. What next? So walk me through the journey since then. Like, what have you discovered about yourself?
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, I like the way that Hermosi puts it with like that it's bricks on a bridge, and there's always going to be another goal that comes next. And that was kind of the realization that I'd had is once I get into a position, and now that I'm here, it's seeing all the other skill sets that need to be developed to kind of compile on to where I want to go long term. Getting the leadership aspect, getting the just the sales skills specifically, And it does kind of open the door to seeing those skill sets that you do still need to develop. So I think it's super good feedback to get once you get in that position, just kind of seeing all the nuances and, what's the next goal, and then what skills do I need to develop to get to that point, and then where do I need to step up to, put myself in an uncomfortable position to adapt and then be able to handle that role when it comes along. So I think that's been a big one for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I've noticed that, especially again, it's talking about traps, but another thought trap is like, oh, I'm in with this multi-million-dollar company, right? Like everything is secure and certain, and this is it. And these people are here, and I'm here, and that's what it is. I know that your company has went through some shifts, and like any company, there's ups and downs and left and right. And a good business owner is always being able to navigate those things, not taking anything for granted. And it seems like you've always, no matter what the shift, whether it's positive or negative, you've always seemed to be able to come out on top. Can you talk about how you've been able to do that and how you've positioned yourself for these shifts?
Yeah, I just kind of looking back on my journey, even previous to coming into into this industry, the contracting business that me and my brother was running, it was a lot of adapting, just to changing circumstances, and then even coming in and with the changes that we've made, shifts that we've made, as well as just the full shift that I made into the industry, which was completely different than what I had done previously. I feel like I have developed kind of that, just the adapting to changing circumstances and being able to find, what do I need to do to take in all the new information and then organize it and figure out how to adapt and then continue to move forward. It was something that was uncomfortable at a time, but it's kind of gotten to where now it's like, it's just a part of the day. You've got to wake up, and every day's a clean slate, and what you did yesterday doesn't matter. So it was a shift that I had to make, that it wasn't always that way, but it's been, something that's been in the making, still in the making, but just keeping that mindset that, every day is a new day, and, what worked yesterday may not work today. What you're doing yesterday may not be the same thing that you're doing today, but I think that adapting and being able to adapt to changing circumstances is a really valuable skill to learn.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we've had the chance to work together for a while now. And one thing I've noticed is you don't take anything for granted. And that, I think, really helps you, in that you don't have any expectations. You don't expect anything to work for you. You go out and get it. And if it doesn't, then the things change. It's like, if you didn't expect, and you don't have any like, oh shit, that didn't work out the way I wanted. It's just putting that best effort. And one of the things that I've learned in watching you, that I think a lot of people can take from, is what I've been talking about in UCM is usually people come to me with a lot of problems, because that's when people look for solutions, right? And I think they get this idea that, like, okay, what I'm doing here is to fix these problems. And so they fix these problems. Some of them some they kind of avoid, and then they just kind of go at zero, and then life keeps going ahead, and they fall into a trap of more problems. One of the things that I want people to start thinking about is this proactive problem solving. And then when there's no problems, that's the time to level up. That's the time to create your own adversity. That's the time to challenge yourself. And you've been able to execute that really well, where there was a big learning curve right off the bat. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of mindset stuff. And once we work through that, a lot of people disappear, and you came back even more hungry when there was no problems, wanting to get 1% better and improving. And how has that played a role in your life, and where does that come from, or how do you access that?
Yeah. Just thinking through that. I mean, looking back on the journey, I really feel like that's when, when I perform best, is when I've got that stress and that pressure on me. And I think it comes from a place that whenever I do settle into that complacency, and things are just kind of routine, that's when I do turn to procrastination, find myself overthinking, and kind of putting things off. So, when I've got the pressure on, then it's just I'm acting, I guess, more from, just the skills that I've developed and just kind of taking action on it. So I think that's whenever I work best is whenever I've got that pressure and I'm kind of feeling like I am behind the 8 ball and like I've got to perform and I've got to, move forward and I've got to make this work. And I think it just kind of kicks out some of those bad habits that I've had in the past of procrastinating, pushing off, it's like avoiding that uncomfortable situation. But then when I get in a situation where, it almost feels like, my back's up against the wall, then it's like, I just have to act. And that's, I've seen that's when it works best for me. So I try to, put myself in that position, even if it's not, where my back's against the wall, just kind of try to create that environment, so that I keep moving forward through that.
Beautiful. I love it. Self-imposed adversity is what I kind of label it as. It's like, I want to see where my mental weaknesses are when there's nothing on the line. Because like, if I screw it up and it was just me being proactive, like I have time to fix it. If I wait until there's a problem, I'm being tested on the battlefield. And so I might see weaknesses that I didn't see when everything was going well. And so I think it's something I've noticed in a lot of leaders and a lot of top performers is they test themselves when nothing else is testing them. And I think that's a really important kind of clue and attribute. Now, you've been networking a lot. You've built a lot of relationships. Have you noticed anything that holds some people back in this industry or any challenges they face that are either self-imposed or ways that they are, whether it's strategy or skill set or mindset? What do you think is holding back people with potential?
I would say the biggest one is probably just not stepping into a position that you feel like you're unqualified for. It was something that I faced coming into the industry, not reaching out to whoever it is on your top, the top of your list because you don't feel like you've gotten to that point. It's one thing that I've seen is that, no matter what role you're stepping into, the adjustment and the ramp up stage is going to look similar. Obviously there's certain roles to where you've got to have your skill set to that level to be able to perform, but the adapting and getting ramped up and into it is going to be uncomfortable at first, no matter what the position is. So you might as well shoot high and go for whoever it is that you want to work with and your dream role, because it's going to take you just as long to learn that process and the way that they do things, and the way that the process looks there as it is for somebody that's at the bottom of your list, and you're just going to settle for them because you feel like that's the role you deserve. I think that's a big one that I see holding people back is through that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's that self-rejection, right? We all do it. We protect ourselves from the rejection, so we reject ourselves. No one rejects us more than we do, right? And it's a safety mechanism and an ego thing of like, if I don't put myself out there, I can't fail. And, there's underneath a lot of us is that fear of not being good enough. That's one of our cores. That's what makes us human. And so I think we put ourselves in situations where we don't have to face the music and say, maybe I am not good enough, but is that really a bad thing? Like, I can get better, I can improve, I will be good enough. So at least I know now. But what I've found is the people who never put themselves out never get those opportunities. And then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The people, it's amazing how many people in UCM who I've challenged and probably thought I was full of shit, right? And I said, just give me a list of your top 10 companies that if you could work for anybody, how many people are working either on that list or with companies at that level? And for me, it's been an amazing thing to see. And it's like a great feeling when that surprise and shock of like, oh my God, I got it, right? And I think you touch on something really important there is that every business has a learning curve. I'm 17 years in, you're fairly new. If we both start today, right, like we both have to learn the onboarding. We both have to learn the sales process. We both have to learn the CRM. Like I may have a slight advantage in my experience and being able to draw off like, yeah, I've done something similar to this, but each business is different. Each process is different. The prospects are different. The offer is different. So there's a learning curve for anything. And for anybody listening, I want to tell you, like, I have experienced this so much that I just know it to be true. But I think especially for those people in the 3 to 5K range, that good range, scared to go great. I think there's a limiting belief that you think 30K is going to be 10 times more difficult than 3K. And it's just not true. It's not true. Being able to find the right opportunity, in a lot of cases, for me, it was easier to make more money because I was working with a company that did more. They had a proven sales process, they had consistent lead flows. And so I was able to basically 20 or 30x my income, not by working so much harder, not by being so much better, but by positioning myself and not allowing myself to be the rejection for my own dreams. Like, just get to know. If you think that you're not qualified for the job, put your name in anyway. It doesn't hurt. You can't get no twice. Like, it's not like they're going to take money out of your bank account, right? Just get the no. Make them say no, because if you're saying no to yourself, there's no one that's going to chase you down and give you a yes. You got to put yourself in front of that. So I think it's so important.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was say, yeah, and it's valuable feedback. I mean, it's the top-down networking strategy that you hammer on. It's getting feedback from them, and then whenever it is taking that step down, and getting that position below it, you've got the feedback from the top position, and you know what you need to work on and what you need to do to be able to land. Maybe it's the second company on your list that you want to work with, and that's where you end up landing. I mean, it's still a great opportunity to get that feedback.
Yeah, that feedback is everything, right? If I get a list, if someone says, no, you're not ready, I'm just going to ask them. No, I totally appreciate it. And one day I will work with this company. I'd like to know what it is that makes me unqualified for this position so I can start working on those things. Most people are going to give you the list. Now I have an ingredient list. Now, instead of thinking and doubting and worrying about it, I can start working on that list. And once I have that list done, I can go back in, and they're going to appreciate and respect that, because they're going to be like, this person's been working. Right? So I love that. And again, if you go to your first company and they say no, and your second company and they say no, and third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth say no, even if 9th, 10th, 11th, or 12th say yes, you still got the best opportunity available to you. But if you start with that who's hiring mentality, it's just usually what happens. You get in a job with no security on it. It's inconsistent lead flow. The sales process is a mess, right? It's inconsistent. You don't perform, so you have nothing to leverage to move up. So what happens is someone just drops off and goes, okay, who's hiring now? And they get caught in this vicious cycle of who's hiring, hired, didn't work out, who's hiring. And that's a trap. You can lose 2 years of growth and opportunity just by going that way, where really, if you put the networking is compounding interest, as you know and as you've seen. So being able to put that in, yeah, you might be able to get that job, but you're also building for the next opportunity. You're also building that real security, not individual job security, but like, I know within hours or days, I'm on 5 interviews, right? Like that is priceless. All right, so I'm curious, is there anything about UCM that surprised you when you joined? Because we have this, it's probably a little scary and a little bit intimidating from the outside, and what am I going to learn? And this is a little bit different than everything else, but is there anything that surprised you or was different than you thought once you joined?
Just honestly, just the amount that you guys care about each individual student's success, the way that you identify what it is that they need specifically. I mean, I came to UCM through, or I've been in a sales training previously to that. And it was just, in a box, it was sales training, and then, go out and take it and put it into place where you need to. And it wasn't what I needed coming into the industry, because I didn't have a position. I didn't know how to get a position. And it was more around my beliefs and my mindset that needed that work. And then coming in and working, with you guys, and you adapted to that, and you saw that. And, that's has been the biggest thing for me, is you've just shifted my beliefs and what I needed to see to be able to get in that position. And then it was applying, the sales skills and the things that you guys teach as well. So that was kind of the biggest thing, is just how, it's such a customized approach to helping everybody kind of get that, what it is that they need to take that next step. And that was the biggest thing for me.
I appreciate that. And when people like yourself come through, I know that, like, of course, if I just had a course and some marketing, could sell a lot more. If we just gave people what they think they want, sales training and a pipeline, it would be a bigger company. But I just don't, I can't see someone like you and then be like, okay, in the mix, everybody gets the same strategy, everybody takes the same actions. Because for example, like, one thing I picked up very early on, and there's a few people in this group that are the same way, is your crutch and your strength are the same things. It's work ethic, it's that grind, it's the discipline. And it's, people are often thrown off when I say, like, discipline is a crutch and hard work is a crutch. It's like, what are you talking about? But I seen that very early on, that, like, your answer to everything was work harder, work harder, work harder. Like, if I tell you to go through the wall, you're just going to slam into it until the wall breaks, right? And so a big challenge for you, like, there's lots of students who I'm trying to get to be disciplined, and I'm working on them to be, have that work ethic and have that integrity, that what they say and what they do is in alignment. But you came in with that. So if I put you in that pool with everybody else, you're gonna be like, yeah, I know this, I got this. And you're not going to really be able to challenge yourself. And so I remember probably a month or two back, we sat down and I challenged you, like, if you couldn't work hard, if you didn't have the discipline, like, what would you rely on? Right? And then we seen a big change. That's when you adjusted to leadership. That's when you started thinking big picture. That's when you started positioning yourself. That's when you started doing all these other things that were up here, right? It wasn't just more hours, more dials, work weekends. I think that's people's solution to a lot of things, when sometimes it's like better strategy, thinking more intelligently, efficiency, how to get other people working for me and working with me and things like that. And so, yeah, I appreciate that, because the mentorship is the only style I know that can get in there in the bits and pieces and really understand what each individual needs.
Yeah, and that's what we was talking about the other day, the difference between discomfort and your discomfort. And that was, for me, it was the comfort was just, work longer, work harder, just see what I can do to get after it. But it was having to change the way that I thought, the way that I thought about it, to figuring out how I could get more output for the same input with, to the things that I was doing, and kind of seeing that big picture. And it really opened my mind up to the opportunities in the industry, and in the company that I'm in, and just in general, just kind of seeing that the bigger picture of there's alternative paths to get there, opposed to just putting your head down, working longer, working harder. And that was the biggest shift that I've made, that I think has really, really kind of changed things for me.
100%, man. 100%. Well, I know you're busy, and I don't want to take up too much of your time, but we're coming up on the end of 2022. It's been a hell of a year. Some people, it's been a real challenging year and lots of struggles. Other people, it's been their best year ever. Do you have any kind of final words of wisdom for someone who maybe set goals going into 2021 or going into 2022, end of 2021, like you, but maybe has struggled this year, or maybe is struggling right now, maybe started out great, but is struggling like right now? What are your kind of words of advice for anybody that's facing those challenges right now, who wants to have the best year ever next year?
I would say just keep in mind that every day is a new day. Don't live on, goals that you set that you haven't hit. Just find ways that you can readjust. What was the reasons for not being able to hit those goals? Where do you need to dial in the process to be able to hit them in 2023? But every day is a new day. So looking back at what you didn't accomplish in 2022 is not going to make 2023 any better. So just, finish the year strong. Look at, each day, each month, each week is a new slate to be able to dial in that process, and then just reset the goals, and then figure out what you need to do to be able to hit them.
I love it. Yeah. Yesterday is gone, right? And we can't change it. I haven't figured out a way to do it. I would probably go back and adjust a couple things. I'm sure everybody here would, but we have what's in front of us. You don't need to carry the guilt and the weight and all the mistakes. Like, take it, learn from it, figure out what you need to do today. What is your desired outcome? And what is the thing that's going to move you one step closer? And if you can take one step at a time, one task at a time, one focus and one action at a time, and then you can stack those, you'll start to build that momentum. And focusing on where you want to be or where you've been is not going to make it easier to make that one step. And that's the move. Man, I appreciate you so much. It's been an absolute honor to be a part of your journey. You're not going anywhere. You're going to be a part of UCM for a long time to come. If anybody who's listening to this wants to be like Nathan, wants to give me a list of their top 10 companies, their dream companies, to get into those places, then to develop, and the journey just begins, like Nathan was talking about. If you want that, reach out to me. I'll put a link in the chat as well so you can apply. But if you want to be a part of UCM right now, I honestly think it's the best time, and it's only going to get better. I appreciate you, Nathan. Have a good day, my man.
You're welcome, man. Excited for what's to come.
Appreciate it.